Assalamualaikum to Dr. Nursita. Today, we would like to present about inflation. The topic that we choose is oil inflation give effect on students of higher education institutions. Before we go deeper into the topic, I would like to introduce my group member, which is me, NURIZZATI HUSNA, Wan ARIFAH, Murfiqah ALYA MURHAFES, and NURUL IZZAH. In Malaysia, most of the studies conducted on the effects of increase in fuel price have focused on a group of people who have a regular money income. Little attention is given to the younger generation without income, especially among the students in higher education. Malaysian students are also among the highest group of people who make daily trips. The increase in fuel price has also increased the daily cost of students and can affect their daily commute. This study aims to examine the specific effects of the increase in the price of fuel on the travel patterns of young people in higher education institutions. The objective of our topic is to understand the type and cost of inflation. Other than that, we can evaluate the impacts of the increase in the price of petrol. And lastly, we can find the best solution to solve the problem of inflation.
Hi, I'm Wan ARIFAH. I would like to explain the types and causes of inflation. For the types of inflation, we have two types, which is demand pull inflation and also cost push inflation. For the causes of the inflation, we have three of the causes, which is reduction of subsidy on petrol, high of demand towards commodity of petrol, and also United States currency value. For the next page, we can see the demand pull inflation. The supply of oil decreases when oil production reduces. This will lead to higher demand and higher prices, then contribute to inflation. Increase in the money supply in an economy also leads to inflation. With more money at the individual disposal, positive consumer judgment leads to higher spending. This high spending will cause an increase in demand and will lead to an increase in prices. For the cost push inflation, increase in the price of labor to produce the processing of oil products. This causes higher costs in oil processing and will contribute to inflation. Next, for the causes of inflation, number one, reduction of subsidy on petrol. Government reduced the subsidy of petrol as a saving measure in the use of petrol to reduce the deficit in the national budget that reached 4.5% from gross domestic product or KDNK. Number two, high of demand towards commodity of petrol. This demand defines a table of quantities of goods to be purchased by consumer at many levels of price. Progress in the industrial field in some countries cause them to need a lot of petrol. And for the last one, United States currency value. Finance crisis which happened in United States causing global shares price to fall and weakening the US currency rate. Because petrol purchases are linked to the use of US currency. If there is any drop in the currency, then it will affect the profit ratio that will be received by petrol producers.
Hello and hi everyone, my name is Murfiqah. My mention number is 295007. So for today, I will explain about the impact of increasing price of petrol. So there are many impacts of inflation, so these are the list. Firstly, the cost of living will increase. In this situation, inflation can affect or give negative effect in the living cost because there is sudden increase in the price of good, which is increase in the price of petrol. I think this is because almost all of Malaysian people having cars and they have to drive their car to everywhere, to work, to shopping mall, and by hook or by crook they have to fill their car with the fuel and spend their money for because increasing of price of petrol. So this will affect cost of living. So for the other negative impact is decrease in unemployment. Prices of petrol are increasing, although with them do revenues and subsequently profits for private businesses. Businesses will able to expand by adding more staff due to the inflow of money. So this will give people more job, and employment will increase. So the last point will be worsening the balance of payment position. The price of petrol exportation is relatively more expensive compared to the price of imported goods. This will reduce the amount of exports and increase the amount of imports. So here means that the government have to spend money on the importation of the petrol compared to the exportation. So we have to import the petrol from the other country to our country. So the tax will, our government will pay for the tax of importation, and this will worsen the balance of payment position. I guess that's all for me. Thank you.
Data shows the price of RON95, RON97 and diesel in Malaysia from 2008 to 2015. In June 2008, the cost of RON97 went up from RM1.92 to RM2.70 per litre. To reduce the government expenditure, the Malaysia government decontrolled the price of RON95 and RON97 starting from 1st November 2008, resulting in inflation for all consumer products. In July 2010, the price of RON97 was determined by the global oil price. This led to an increase of 25 cents per litre in the price of RON97 in Malaysia. Furthermore, the oil subsidy revision in Malaysia was implemented on December 4, 2010, causing a reduction of 5% in the subsidy for RON95. Thus, the price of RON97 increased by 50 cents to RM2.80 per litre from January to July 2011. However, the price of RON97 grew sharply at the rate of 15.38% from RM2.60 per litre July 2012 to RM3 per litre in September 2012 due to the climb of the world's oil cost in the market. Moreover, the cost of RON97 expanded from RM2.70 in August 2013 to RM2.85 in September 2013. However, the increase in the price of RON97 was lower than the increase in the price of RON95 and diesel in 2013 due to the increasing supply of oil in the world market from the OPEC member countries. Reduction in the subsidy made the Malaysian government announces the BEEM, Bantuan Rakyat Satu Malaysia, to curb the cost of living pressures experienced by low-income groups in 2010. Since mid-2014, the global oil price dropped by 50% due to a surge in oil supply and weak demand, which made the government of Malaysia officially end the subsidy of all fuels on 1st December 2014. Nonetheless, the elimination of subsidies for RON95, RON97 and diesel has affected most Malaysians financially. The inflation rate in 2015 was affected by the implementation of the new pricing mechanism for petrol prices, in which there was an influence of global oil price volatility into domestic prices that had affected the domestic food products in Malaysia. Next, we will learn how to control inflation. The government uses economic policy tools to control economic activities in the country to ensure economic stability and growth. Fiscal policy is a government policy that is implemented through changes in tax policy and government spending, so that a stable economic situation can be achieved. To overcome the problem of inflation, the government will use a contractionary fiscal policy to reduce aggregate demand through increased taxes and reduce government spending. When the tax rate is increased, the consumer's disposable income, purchasing power, demand, and aggregate expenditure will decrease. The general price level in the market decreases and further causes the inflation rate to also decrease. Contractionary monetary policy is the government's way of influencing economic activities by reducing the money supply and increasing interest rates so that the national economy is always in a stable state. The action of the central bank to increase the statutory reserve ratio will affect the amount of cash that commercial banks need to keep at the central bank. The central bank can also control the money supply in the economy by raising interest rates. The cost of borrowing and the borrower's debt burden will increase, further causing the amount of loans made by the community to decrease. This will cause consumer income, purchasing power, and aggregate demand to decrease. When the general price level decreases, inflation can be overcome.